Hi, in this short video I'm going to talk about conjugation in French. We're going to see how to conjugate basic regular verbs at the present tense. So the first thing you have to know about conjugation in French is that basically verbs are divided into three groups in French from which depend their conjugation. So the first two groups are composed of regular verbs. They're all more or less conjugated in the same way. And the third group basically groups all the other verbs, the irregular ones. The first group is composed of all the verbs that end with the letters ER, which is pronounced E. So, for example, the verb manger, manger, which means to eat in French, is part of the first group. The second group is composed of the verbs that end with IR. For example, finir is part of the second group. Finir in French means to end. So those are the two first groups with regular verbs, and the third group, well, the verbs in the third group are verbs that end with RE or OIR, well, at least for most of them. For example, the verb prendre, which means to take, prendre is part of the third group. Voir, voir, OIR in French is pronounced voir, sorry. So voir, which means to see in French, is also part of the third group. So what we're going to see now is how you can conjugate the verbs of the first and second group at the present tense. So to conjugate a verb in of the first group or in the present tense, what you do basically is that you remove the ending of the verb, the er, and replace it by the endings specific to the conjugation. So we're looking at the example with marcher. Marcher is a verb which means to walk in French, and it's part of the first group. So the conjugation is je marche, tu marches. Notice that es is pronounced just like the e. The s is not pronounced, so it's just tu marches. Il, elle marche. Then it's nous marchons. O and S in French is just pronounced O. You don't pronounce the S. Then vous marchez. Easy in French is pronounced E. So it's vous marchez, pronounced exactly the same way as the infinitive. And then il, elle marche. E-N-T, but it's just pronounced E. So the N and T are not pronounced at all. So now you know how to conjugate any verb from the first group. So basically any verb that ends by ER. All you have to do is remove ER and replace it by those endings. So let's see how it works for the second group. The second group, present tense, we're going to look at the verb finir, which means to end in French. So notice that it ends by IR. So the endings of the second group are different. It's IS, IS, IT, ISSONS, ISSEZ, ISSENT, which are pronounced E, E, E. The S and the T are not pronounced at all, so it's always just E. And then it's ils sont, issez, is. So it's ils sont, issez, is. So for the verb finir, it's je finis. You remove the IR and replace it by IS. Tu finis. Il, elle finit. So notice how they're all pronounced the same way because the T and the S are not pronounced. Then it's nous finissons. Nous finissons. Vous finissez. And il, elle finissent. So now that you know how to conjugate finir, which means to end, you know how to conjugate any verb of the second group. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more conjugation videos.